creepy encounter at an abandoned cabin in the woods. I recently had a bone-chilling experience that I can't shake off, and I thought this would be the perfect place to share it. Brace yourselves for a spine-tingling tale straight out of a horror movie. Last weekend, a group of friends and I decided to go on a camping trip deep in the woods. We had heard rumors about an old, dilapidated cabin tucked away in a remote part of the forest. Intrigued by the eerie stories surrounding it, we couldn't resist the temptation to explore it firsthand. As we made our way through dense vegetation, the atmosphere grew progressively unsettling. The air turned still, and an inexplicable feeling of being watched descended upon us. Eventually, we stumbled upon the cabin, and it was as creepy as described, a decaying structure covered in overgrown vines, with broken windows and a door hanging off its hinges. Nervously, we pushed open the creaking door, revealing a dark, musty interior. The flickering beams of our flashlights barely illuminated the room, casting eerie shadows on the peeling wallpaper. We cautiously stepped inside, our hearts pounding. That's when we heard it, a faint whisper, almost indistinguishable. The hair on the back of our necks stood on end as the whispering grew louder, seemingly coming from all directions. It was as if the cabin itself was alive with malevolent secrets. Terrified, we decided to leave, but our path was suddenly obstructed by a figure blocking the door. It was a man, his features obscured by shadows, and he appeared disheveled and sinister. His eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity, and we froze in fear. The man's lips curled into a twisted smile as he spoke in a low, gravelly voice. He muttered something about the cabin being his sanctuary and warned us never to return. We stumbled over each other, desperate to escape, and eventually managed to break free, sprinting back through the woods in sheer terror. To this day, I can't shake off the feeling that there was something truly malevolent about that encounter. What was that cabin hiding? Who was that mysterious man? I have so many unanswered questions that continue to haunt me. Looking for my lost cat almost cost me my life. I went out looking for my lost cat during evening at 10 p.m. There's a school nearby that my cat could have easily got into. There were 2 guards on duty that night, and I decided to ask them if they've seen my cat and if they have to give me a call. I have one guard my number, so I went back home, and not even 5 minutes later I receive a missed call from this guard. I call him back and he says there's 4 cats in the school, but he doesn't know if one of them is mine, so I go there to check it out. As I arrive there, I ask the guard if any cat fits my cat's description, and he said he doesn't know as it's dark and they don't have a flashlight. The other guard seems to be occupied on his phone, only looks up once or twice. So the other guard says I should come in and have a look if my cat is there, so I go into the school alone and I don't see any cats anywhere. He keeps saying maybe they went further down into the school where it's not a well-lit area, and this guy starts to walk closer to me. The other guard went patrolling down the school, but I couldn't see him. Anyways, I couldn't find my cat, and then this guard kept staring at me. I told him I have to go back home as it's getting late and I'll look tomorrow. He kept insisting I stay, and then he grabbed a plank in the dark and was holding it. This immediately gave me a bad vibe. I just wanted to get out of there and fast. I told him I have to go and I can't stay here looking for my cat. He said something in another language to other guard that came up the school, and I'm not sure what they said. Anyways, I walked up the school near the gate. The guard then pulled my hand like he didn't want me to go, and I'm like I have to get home. I told him to open the gate as it was locked, and then he said I must wait here and then he will go get the keys. I then told him my father is a lawyer and will be looking for me. All of a sudden, he grabs the keys out of his pocket and opens the gate. This guard had other intentions, I knew it. He lied and then got a little worried. But still he didn't seem fazed by that. He kept asking me when I'm coming back there, and I said I'm not. The other guard then came up and asked me if I have children, and I said no. Then he said, why not? I said it's not your business. Anyways, I went back home safely. But things could have gone wrong very easily, and I could have been attacked and God knows what. This guard hasn't stopped trying to call me though. The whole weekend I've been receiving missed calls. Make sure to always lock your doors. I live in a pretty safe neighborhood and usually always lock my doors. Last night I apparently didn't. It was not too long after I had taken my dogs out for the last time and was turning off the TV and lights when one of my dogs started growling. Not too weird since he sometimes does that when people walk by the house. He only does it to certain people, not everyone. I then heard the front door open and someone walk in. My dog then started barking. My other dog, who loves all people, came running from the other room to greet our guest. At the same time I was reacting to what was happening and went, what the? Who are you? Standing in the hall was a guy in his mid to late 20s. He was skinny and tall. Oh wait. I don't think I'm in the right place. He genuinely seemed confused. I replied with, no, you aren't. Please get out. He apologized and said he was coming to hang out with a friend and just have accidentally went to the wrong place. I asked him what house he was looking for and he said a number that was just a few couple number off from mine. He apologized again and left. He seemed nice and non-threatening, but I was still kind of spooked. This morning I was ready to laugh the whole thing off. I was planning on telling my neighbor, a couple in their 30s, what happened. I don't know them all too well, but we have talked before. Luckily, I caught with one of them when I was taking my dogs out. I didn't want to come off like I was mad or scared over what happened, so I casually said, I'm sure he told you about it, but your friend paid me a surprise visit last night. My neighbor gave me this confused look and said, what are you talking about? Your friend. He walked into my house last night thinking it was your place. My neighbor was quiet for a second and then said, I don't want to alarm you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. We didn't have a friend over last night. Car trouble in front of my house. So this happened about 4 years ago. My dad works nights, so I'm home alone until about 2:30 a.m. most days. We live in a pretty quiet area where people usually keep to themselves. One night at about 1 in the morning, there was a knock at the door, and when I checked our peephole there was a young woman with a car parked near the curb in front of my house. I answered and she looked really young, maybe 15 or 16, or just looked very youthful. In short, she looked just barely old enough to be driving. She told me that she was having car trouble, and asked if I could come check it out and possibly give her car a jump. At this time I didn't drive, have a car of my own, or knew very much about cars, so I was of little help, but offered to call someone if she needed AAA or a tow service. She declined but kept insisting that I check out the lights on her dashboard to see if it was normal. At this point I just didn't want to be outside with a stranger, so I politely informed her I'd be of little help because I had zero knowledge of cars. I went back inside but kept looking through the peephole. She opened the back door, got into the back seat, and the car drove off. It instantly made my stomach drop and had me extremely freaked out. I was kinda distraught thinking about what the real reason was to approach my house, who was driving. Just the entire thing left me confused and frightened. I spent the next few days a little on edge because I was afraid they may return knowing that someone is there or that I was alone. I also think of that girl and who she was. I wish I had a video doorbell at the time so I could find out if she was a victim of some sort. It still bothers me a lot and is eerie as hell.